today we're not gonna munch on anything, we're gonna experiment with anything, we're gonna do a thing, right? What we're going to do today, we're gonna show you the instructions how to make a seed ball, also referred as seed ball. So that being said, we'll see you on the other side. Alright, welcome to Eatz and Things. So today, what is a seed ball? Well, basically, it's a composition of topsoil, clay, and with seeds. And they make it into a ball when they bring this into combination, right? And then you let it dry overnight, right? The whole idea is that you throw these balls, these jerks of balls, if you will, with seeds in them, and you throw them in different areas where they need to, I guess if you will, stimulate the environment, such as grass, or grains or such things that you desire. You can put anything in the soil. So the whole idea is, one, to stimulate the ground or the dirt, if you will. But before we go further into the explanation of it, let's go ahead and jump into how do we make a seed ball. So if you can, follow me, I have a little tray and I mix a combination of topsoil, right, that has all the nutrients, and then clay. Now, there's different types of clay. Clay, since it's a little bit thicker, it clumps up the soil and the seed. Now, the whole purpose of the clay is to harden the ball to prevent birds or animals or insects from having to eat the grain or the seed, right? Now, with this, what I'm using, you might say, well, it doesn't look like clay. Well, actually, I bought a little bag of cat litter. If you look at the ingredients, cat litter has clay. Every time they use the box, if you will, that's how they absorb the liquids, right? But because clay can be expensive, right? If you're looking for something that's inexpensive that you can work with, then we recommend that you buy a small bag of cat litter, right? And if you check in the ingredients, it'll say it has clay, all right? So what we do is, then you decide what kind of seeds you want to mix with the topsoil and the clay. So here I have chosen wild seeds. Usually that's eaten by birds and other types of animals, which I'm going to mix into the dirt, right? And then, but what I'm going to do is add extra something special. I'm going to add some grass seeds, all right, to it. I'm going to do a combination, all right? Now, why am I doing this? Well, what I've learned, based on other information that I've researched, is that the dry area, the dry land, lacks, one, we know it's water, right? But in order to stimulate the land to become more fertile, when you have grasses or grains or trees or shrubs, right, when they start off and they start growing their roots down into the earth, a couple of things happen. One, through photosynthesis, they bring the energy or the sugar down to the stem and into the roots, right? And it stimulates other components in the soil, such as bacteria and fungi, and any other critters, such as, well, not critters, but insects, maybe like worms. They're also referred as night crawlers, right? They tend to be stimulated by some of these, if you will, sugars that's provided underneath the ground. So, what has been recommended, that since we have in dry areas, that to spread seeds or grains or what have you. But what they show, what's more effective is that by creating seed balls, one of the things that they've noticed, that if they were just to throw the seeds, the birds will eat them. And with the seed balls, it preserves and protects the seeds until it receives its first raindrop. Then you let nature take care of itself. So when the seed receives water, it starts to germinate within the topsoil within, mixed with the clay, so it starts to grow. But the clay is not hard enough to prevent it from growing, such as the roots or the stem. But since it's not already close to the ground, the roots will eventually not only break through the clay, but then into the soil, and then eventually within time it would stimulate the bacteria, the fungi, and other aspects. And then what happens is that naturally it improves the soil, right? So, but it has to start somewhere, right? So we're gonna go back to, since we give you a little bit of background why we're doing this, we got, of course, we added some topsoil. There's some percentages. I just did a handful. Because I'm trying to make a lot of them. Some will give you a ratio of 2-2-1 or 1-1-2 and 1-2-3 and 4-5-6. But whatever you feel comfortable. Usually I got like a handful or a fistful of clay, about 4 or 5 fistfuls, and 1 fistful of topsoil. Again, the topsoil is for the sole purpose of the nutrients. The clay is to keep it together, preventing the birds or any other animals from consuming the seeds. So again, I have these wild seeds. We have a wild combination. And if you think about it, you know, it's once they grow and they become mature, eventually they'll produce their own seeds, and yes, the animal. Then after that, yes, birds and other animals can consume it. But the whole idea is to work with the soil, because if later on you decide to plant or throw other seeds such as trees or shrubs, and you let nature take care of its course, these guys are the grunts. These are the first ones to go and prepare the soil for other major projects. So what I wanted to do is, this time I'm going to go a little bit crazy. I'm going to add a little bit of the grass seeds to it. I'm going to go a little bit wild, right? So before, you know, mix it with, if you can see here, the grass seed with the wild seeds, right? But before I can dump all this thing, I need to then prepare this. Now what's lacking is what? Water, or in Spanish, agua, right? So now once you add, this is where it gets a little bit messy. Can you pass me the napkin? Well, anyway, because now you have to put in your hands. Well, that's mine. But anyway, moving on. We'll use more napkins. It's okay. Then you start mixing it. Have you noticed the topsoil with the clay? And of course, the clay will start absorbing the water. So it's going to create that thick, hardening shell or cover to protect the seeds as once we decide to mix it in. But right now, I'm just mixing it up to see how much more water it requires to make it kind of like a soft texture, almost like muddy, if you will. Again, just enough to where eventually it comes together, gets wet, and then of course we're gonna make clumps up. We're gonna make them into balls, right? That's why they call seed balls. Now they use the word seed bombs because they throw them out into the wilderness. That's the whole idea, and you don't do anything else. All you do is prepare the seed balls, add whatever seeds you want, right? And then once you prepare them, you set them aside. And then when they're ready, a day or two, once they're dry, because remember the clay needs to dry, that's the shield that protects the seeds. Then you can throw them out there and then let nature, whenever it decides to rain, or there's any dews or mist, what have you, eventually it'll penetrate within the clay and the topsoil, and then of course do its part with the seeds. So here I'm gonna go a little bit wild seeds with grass. So we want to stimulate the area, the environment, right? So I'm gonna add in there and then mix it up. Now it's gonna be in the soil, and yes, you might say, well, it's getting wet. Well, if you think about it, it takes a while anyway to ferment. If not, it goes dormant into a sleeping stage. But at least it's getting ready to do its part to sprout, if you will, or to break through its shell from its original husk, right? And then eventually, you know, what have you, right? Do its part. Well, primarily one, grow the roots and then go into the ground, and then two, eventually grow into little stems or grains or grasses, all right? So I'm just gonna add a little bit more, right? You decide how much you want to add to it and just play with it. You know, just pretend you're 4 or 5 years old when you used to be a kid playing mud, right? But back then your parents would get after you getting all muddy, and then you have to take a shower, right? But you don't have to get muddy all over your body, it's just your hands, right? Okay, so I think at this point I have the consistency, the texture, and I'm ready to make my first ball, right? So what I'm gonna do is get a napkin, separate it, right? Because remember, I have to leave it overnight to dry up, to allow the clay to harden itself, right? And then later on, we can throw the balls into the areas that you wish or desire. Even in public areas like cities, right? Sometimes, you know, it's barren desert, you know, it's like they don't do anything. They don't want to water it. So if you do your part, adding seeds of flowers or other stuff, make it pretty, you know. Decorate the town, decorate the county, however you wish. So we're gonna get a little clump. Now I am working with one hand, so because yes, I'm conscious about but you know, it's soft. It's not too muddy, and don't squeeze it too hard. You don't want it to be too compacted, because remember, the clay, when it dries out, it's gonna harden a little bit. Remember, you want to let the seeds eventually, once they get wet and germinate, to eventually grow out of its husks and or structure. So therefore the stem goes up, and of course they'll find a way how to connect with the ground, because you're just going to throw it into the area and just let nature takes care of it. You know, like when people throw seeds, you know, you're eating, I don't know, watermelon or pumpkins, and you just throw seeds and either birds eat it, or if not, let's say nature takes care of it, starts raining, gets stuck in the mud, and all of a sudden, you know, you got pumpkin or watermelon, whatever, growing. Okay, so if you can see, I'm just gonna make one more ball, right, just to show you how it's done. And I mean, yes, do both hands, but sometimes I might need other stuff, and other people wear gloves, you can use your hands, whatever, right? Okay, so again, so therefore, again, if you can see it over here, I have 3 little balls with multiple seeds ready to do their jobs. But I want to get ahead of myself. One, if you want to look over here, I already have prepared other seed balls. This is only made by Wild Seeds. And then if you move over here to your right hand side, I made seed balls with grass. These are grass seeds, and these are wild seeds. And this time I went a little bit, you know, loco, a little bit crazy, because what I did is I combined the wild seeds with the grass seeds. Now, of course, they will recommend what's native to your land, to the area. Use those type of seeds and grass, and just play with it, and let me know what you think. At this moment, we're done with this procedure of the seed balls. So if you have any questions or comments, make sure you write it on the comment section. With that being said, this is Joe signing off. Thanks for watching. Okay, hey guys, how's it going? Since the other day we were talking about we were making seed balls, this is a perfect example. It's already dried up. It has compost soil, cat litter, because it has clay, and it has the seeds in. You know, if you see like sunflower seeds, bird seeds, and grass seeds. And what I'm gonna do is just basically throw them on the ground, right? Now in the next couple of days, I'm just gonna drop one in front of you. It's gonna rain. So by dropping them off, right, all they gotta do is wait for the rain to occur, and eventually it'll absorb the water. And then once it starts sprouting, when they germinate, then they'll take root on the ground, right? And of course, we'll start starting to see the grass and the variety of seeds growing in a matter of days, right? So just to give you another example of the seed balls. So let me show you an example where I've done it before a couple of weeks ago when it rained in this area. So again, dropping the ball on the floor. Okay, so again, just to show an example, remember the seed balls that we talked about and we made and threw them. Now, a few weeks ago, I threw a couple of them on this side, and if you see behind me, you can see the grass and other items that have been planted in the seeds, sorghum seed, you know, any type of bird seeds, sunflowers, and of course grass. All right. Now, the only thing is I had a couple of branches here. It kind of, the branches of the wood, of course, provide some sort of compost. So therefore, it kind of helped the seed balls in this area to grow up and become luscious green. So this is what we're shooting for, and I know it needs a we need to mow the grass, but this is what we're experimenting, because remember, these plants and grass, they consume CO2, right? But at the same time, they bring it down to the ground, but at the same time, it provides oxygen and it helps improve the soils. So if you notice where I was a moment ago, where the the land was dry, now we can see that it's green and luscious when it rains and I use the seed balls. So if you have any questions or comments, make sure you list it down below. With that being said, this is Joe signing off. Thanks for watching.